Привет, ребята, всем! Стэн вот такой дружелюбный смотрит на вас. Это Digital Duo. Меня зовут Лили. Я прохожу Dragon Age начало. Что говорит нам о том, что это первая часть. Итак, в прошлый раз мы как-то так сумбурно проромансили Алистера. Засосал он, конечно, конкретно. Скажем так, это официальный буст, это не какой-то мод, это DLC с подарками вышло. Мы можем пробустить все отношения, потому что в базовой оригинальной игре с некоторыми персонажами, такими как Морриган, такими как Стэн, это было очень тяжело сделать. Кстати, я подарила Стэну тоже подарочек. Он теперь такой нейтрально настроенный. Так, давайте что, поговорить тут с кем-нибудь? Вот, с Морган, например.
I await your command. So, full of questions, are you? Possibly, if I had the desire to. I do not. I was told to accompany you and to help you, and that I shall. This may extend to the teaching of my mother's skills in time. For now, I simply do not know you well enough. I promise nothing. I await your command. At times, perhaps. A world full of people and buildings and things was all very foreign to me. If I wished companionship, I ran with the wolves and flew with the birds. If I spoke, 'twas to the trees. Don't be foolish. I recall the first time I crept beyond the edge of the wilds. I did so in animal form, remaining in the shadows and watching these strange townsfolk from afar. I happened upon a noblewoman by her carriage, adorned in sparkling garments, the likes of which I had never before seen. I was dazzled. This, to me, seemed what true wealth and beauty must be. I snuck up behind her and stole a hand mirror from the carriage. 'Twas encrusted in gold and crystalline gemstones, and I hugged it to my chest with delight as I sped back to the wilds. Flemeth was furious with me. I was a child and had not yet come into my full power, and I had risked discovery for the sake of a pretty bauble. To teach me a lesson, Flemeth took the mirror and smashed it upon the ground. I was heartbroken. And a foolish one. Flemeth was right to break me of my fascination. Beauty and love are fleeting and have no meaning. Survival has meaning. Power has meaning. Without those lessons, I would not be here today, as difficult as they might have been. They did indeed. To return to your original question, perhaps my time in the wilds was indeed lonely, but such was how it had to be. I find myself at times wondering what might have become of the girl with the beautiful golden mirror, but such fantasies have no place amidst reality.
You are not quite as callow as I thought. That is unexpected. You're welcome. I caged myself. A weak mind is a deadly foe, as you are no doubt aware. I know that my failures were my own. I told you before that I was sent here. I was not sent alone. I came to your lands with 7 of the Beresad, my brothers, to seek answers about the Blight. We made our way across the Ferelden countryside without incident, seeing nothing of the threat we were sent to observe. Until the night we camped by Lake Calenhad. They came from everywhere. The earth beneath our feet, the air above us. Our own shadows harbored the darkspawn. I saw the last of the creatures cut down, too late. I fell. I heard the stories of Ostagar. Your kith stood their ground when others fled. No one can do more than that. I don't know how long I lay on the battlefield among the dead, nor do I know how the farmers found me. I only know that when I woke I was no longer among my brothers, and my sword was gone from my hand. Perhaps. I searched for it, and when that failed I asked my rescuers what had become of it. They said they found me with nothing. I killed them. With my bare hands. I did. I knew they didn't have the blade. They had no reason to lie to me. I panicked. Unthinking, I struck them down. That sword was made for my hand alone. I have carried it from the day I was set into the Beresad. I was to die wielding it for my people. Even if I could cross Ferelden and Tevinter unarmed and alone to bring my report to the Arishok, I would be slain on sight by the Antam. They would know me as soulless, a deserter. No soldier would cast aside his blade while he drew breath. If I knew where to look, it would be in my hand now. Near Lake Callanhad. Perhaps those words are empty, but thank you all the same.
Братишка, мы все найдем, ёпрст, вообще не переживай. Но то, что ты убил крестьян голыми руками, это пиздейшим, конечно.
You called. Speak, then. Then I suggest we move on. I am hardly surprised. To put it lightly, no one has a place here. Your farmers wish to be merchants. The merchants dream of being nobles, and the nobles become warriors. No one is content to be who they are. What does that accomplish? The farmer who buys a shop is never a merchant. He is always a farmer turned merchant. He carries his old life with him as a turtle carries its shell. Does it? It's also his weakness. If he stumbles and falls over, it pins him on his back. It is better to armor yourself with no more than what you need. One life, one duty. You can learn to find it in doing your duty, in serving your people. There is no need to search for it. Shall we move on? There is interesting food here. You have a thing. It doesn't have a word in the Kunari tongue. Little baked things like bread, but sweet and crumbly. Yes, we have no such things in our lands. This should be remedied. Shall we move on? Perhaps. It's strange to be in a crowd and hear a language that is not your own. To see faces that are and aren't like yours. I miss the smells of Saharon. Tea and incense and the sea. Ferelden smells of wet dogs. True. I was trying to forget that part. Shall we move on? As you wish.
Бонусов поднабрали, может, сейчас нас не так сильно бить будут.
Have I ever told you I really like the way you wear your hair? It's very nice and it suits you. Simple. Not like the elaborate hairstyles we wore in Orlais. They involved flowers, ribbons, jewels. 1 year, feathers were all the rage, and Lady Elise decided she needed to outdo everyone else and actually wore live songbirds in her voluminous hair. The chirping was quite charming for a while, but you must realize, terrified little birdies often have loose bowels. Yes, you can imagine what she looked like by the end of the evening. But I was trying to say something nice to you, wasn't I? Oh, forgive me. My mind wanders so. It's just that I feel so comfortable talking to you. Like I could say anything and you wouldn't judge me. Yes, very much so. I haven't felt this close to anyone in a long time. I really enjoy your company. Thank you. I am honored that you feel that way.
Ну, Лилиану как бы тоже можно заромантить и мужчиной, и женщиной, но у нас уже есть Алистер. Так что с Лилианой будем дружить.
Something I can help with? What is meant by someone like me? Did you think I was always a cloistered sister? The chantry provides succor and safe harbor to all who seek it. I chose to stay and become affirmed. I was a traveling minstrel in Orlais. Tales and songs were my life. I performed, and they rewarded me with applause and coin. And my skill in battle? Well, you pick up different skills when you travel, yes? Yes, of course. Let's move on. Something I can help with? Yes? What's on your mind? My mother was from Denerim, and I consider myself a Ferelden. Mother served an Orlesian noblewoman who lived here when Orlais ruled. When Orlais was defeated and the common folk began to resent the presence of any Orlesian, the lady returned to Orlais. She took my mother with her. I was born in Orlais and did not set foot in Ferelden till much later. Mother was always telling me stories of her homeland. I think she missed it. She had served Cecily, the Lady Cecily, for many years and was loyal to her. Cecily was a good person. She was always kind to me. Mother died when I was very young. Lady Cecily let me stay with her. I had no one else. She was quite old then, and she had me study music and dance to entertain her. It is unfair that I have more memories of Cecily than my mother. Strangely, the only thing I really remember of Mother was her scent. She kept dried flowers in her closet amongst her clothes. Small white Ferelden wildflowers with a sweet fragrance. Mother called them Andrastis Grace. They were very rare in Orlais. But enough about that. Let us move on.
Вот они тут дают подсказки, что им можно подарить.
Something I can help with? Yes? What's on your mind? I miss Val-Royeaux. Unlike other cities where the people are the lifeblood and the character, Val-Royeaux was her own person, and her people little more than decorations. There was always music in Val-Royeaux, streaming from the many windows, quiet refrains and triumphant choruses, and always, floating above that all, the chant, coming from the Grand Cathedral. It was magnificent. Oh, it would take me a day or two to talk about the many splendors of Orlais, her golden fields, her lush meadows. Of course, there are good things and bad things about Orlais, like anywhere else. Sometimes I miss it dearly, and sometimes I'm glad I'm rid of it. And you will laugh at this, but I miss the fine things I had in Orlais. Dresses, fine dresses and furs, and shoes, of course. One can't mingle with nobility with bad shoes, you see. Orlais is very fashionable, almost ridiculously so. But the shoes, living with those ridiculous trends was worth it for the shoes. When I left Orlais, the fashion was shoes with delicate tapered heels and embellishments in the front, a ribbon perhaps, or embroidery. In soft colors, of course. It was spring. Yes, well, a fair amount. It is so frivolous and wasteful, I know, but I have such a weakness for lovely shoes. Oh, I could talk about shoes all day, but we have things to do, don't we? Something I can help with? Yes? What's on your mind? Of course I do. I love stories far too much to keep them to myself. Everyone should be able to benefit from them, I think. I know one, told to me by my mother a long time ago. It always chilled me to the bone. Maybe you have heard of Flemeth? Are you sure? Was she the Flemeth of legend? Flemeth, the devourer of men? Flemeth, mother of witches? Flemeth, demon-touched, who dwells in the mists? Well, if Flemeth really exists, she would be very, very old indeed. Ferelden mothers scare their daughters with talk of Flemeth. They say that if you're bad, Flemeth will spirit you away and bind you to her forever. They also say that Flemeth mourns her lost beauty and will steal yours through your looking glass if she catches you. Flemeth's beauty was known throughout the land. She had hair like unto a moonless night, skin as pale as winter's first snow, and eyes as beautiful and perilous as the sea. When she came of age, she came to the attention of the Lord of Highever, Conobar, and he took her for his wife. Conobar soon learned that his young bride had the gift of magic. He kept this a secret, for he feared that she would be taken from him. Flemeth stayed with Conobar for some years, and with his blessing, she practiced her art. And then one day, a young poet named Osen came to the castle. Flemeth was captivated by Osen's voice, and he by her beauty, and they fell in love. Flemeth longed to be with her true love, and she and Osen fled from Conobar's lands, seeking refuge in the Kokari wilds with the Chasing tribes. They lived there happily for many a year, till the day Flemeth received news that Conobar was dying and longed to see her face one last time. Flemeth's heart swelled with pity for the man who once was her husband, and begged Osen to return to Conobar's side with her. But when Flemeth and Osen entered Highever, they were captured by Conobar's men, and Osen was slain in front of Flemeth's eyes. Flemeth was imprisoned in the highest tower of the castle, there to await Conobar's judgment on her. Distraught at the loss of her love, Flemeth plotted revenge against her husband. She summoned a fey demon, intending for it to wreak vengeance on Conobar. But a spell went awry. The demon possessed Flemeth. Turning her into an abomination, the halls of the castle ran red with blood as Flemeth slaughtered Conobar and all his men. The last of Flemeth's humanity melted away, and at dawn, she stole back to the wilds to plot and scheme for 100 years. They say she took to her side many Chasing men, and with their help, begat her daughter witches, who even now prowl the dark places of the Kokari wilds. Of course, Orlesians enjoy telling stories. I shall tell you my favorite tale of Aveline, the Knight of Olay. A long time ago, a girl child was born to a farmer. He had hoped for a son, not a daughter, and so he told his wife to abandon the child in the woods. Before the cold could claim her, the baby was found by a tribe of Dalish elves who took pity on the poor mewling thing and raised her as their own. Aveline, for that is what they called her, grew strong and quick and clever under the guidance of the elves. She learned to wield the sword as well as any man, could kill a deer with an arrow at 100 paces, and was as graceful on the back of a horse as she was on foot. Aveline's Dalish guardians saw that she could easily best any Orlesian chevalier in battle, and wanted to show the cruel humans the child they had left to die. They bestowed upon her a fine horse and armor, and sent her to prove herself to her people in the grand tourney. Now in those days, no woman was allowed to take up arms, let alone compete in the grand tourney, but Aveline kept her helmet on and was not discovered. Aveline won many events and gained the approval of the adoring crowd. Eventually, she came face to face with the knight Kaleva in the grand melee. Aveline had already bested him in the joust, and Kaleva was determined not to lose a second time. Out of desperation to regain his honor, Kaleva tripped Aveline and tossed her to the ground, ripping off her helmet as he did so. Silence fell upon the arena as Aveline was revealed. Kaleva declared the previous competitions invalid. A woman had taken part, and this was not allowed. But the crowd cheered for Aveline. Kaleva was furious, for he had lost to a woman and was now being shamed. Blinded by his rage, he forced Aveline to her knees. "Know your place, woman," cried he, and slit her throat. The son of the king, Prince Freyan, was present. He recognized Aveline's skill and bravery and began to see the injustice done to the women in his land. When he was made king, he rewrote the laws of Olay so that women could also become chevalier. He honored Aveline and knighted her after her death. And to this day, any female who is knighted reveres Aveline the Brave, for she is the patron of all women chevalier. Chantry law says it is man's pride that created the Darkspawn. In ages past, the mages of the Tevinter Imperium ruled much of the world we know. In their pride, they thought their magics invincible and imagined that they were greater than the Maker himself. So thinking, they invaded his golden city, planning to take it for themselves and depose their own creator. But they were impure and full of sin. And it is with the sin that they tainted the golden city, corrupting it forever. The Maker cursed them and cast them from his sight. Wherever they went, they spread the taint of their sin. Any land that was touched by the taint became blighted and would suffer no life. Instead, the Darkspawn arose to torment us and remind us of our hubris. Which one? I have heard a little about how the elves gained their freedom from the Tevinter Imperium. When Andraste began her exalted march against the Imperium, the elves joined her cause to fight their masters. The great elven leader, Shatan, born in captivity, rose up to lead his people. He foresaw a future where the elves were free. Shatan was killed when Andraste was betrayed, but the elves continued to fight, eventually breaking free of the Imperium. The elves claimed the Dales in the south and settled there in the land of their own. The elves lived in the Dales for centuries. They resurrected the worship of the elven gods and would allow the building of no chantry. This angered the chantry, and the hostility between the two factions finally broke out in open war. The chantry says the elves struck first, but I do not know whether to believe it. The chantry declared a wholly exalted march against the elves, named for Andraste's similar march against Tevinter. During the exalted march of the Dales, the elven cities were sacked, and the elven state completely dissolved. Some of the elves bitterly accepted their fates and surrendered to human rule, living in the human cities as second-class citizens. But others, still fiercely proud of their heritage, refused to bow to the humans, and instead became homeless wanderers. There were the elves of the Dales, the Dalish. Andraste was the Maker's chosen. The Maker had long since abandoned the world when the sound of her singing turned his ear. Beauty, grace, and wisdom enraptured him, and he offered to take her from this flawed world to become his divine bride. But Andraste had an earthly husband and would not forsake him. Instead, she beseeched the Maker to return to his people once more. So earnest was her plea that the Maker was moved and promised that he would create a paradise on earth if all abandoned their false gods and turned once more to him. And this is why Andraste began her exalted march on the idolaters of the Tevinter Imperium. The Maker granted her his powers with which to smite her enemies. Andraste brought the Imperium to its knees, and her victories converted many to the worship of the Maker. Alas, it was the frailties of men that betrayed and killed Andraste. Her earthly husband, Maferath, a chieftain of the Alamari tribes himself, grew jealous as his wife's popularity and influence overshadowed his own. She was also revered as the Maker's betrothed, and Maferath began to see their own bond waning in significance as Andraste became ever more devoted to the Maker. Out of envy and spite, Maferath made a pact with the Archon Hessarian of Tevinter, allowing his beloved Andraste to be ambushed and captured. Andraste was burned at the stake in Minrathous, the capital of Tevinter. The Tevinter chantry claims that in Andraste's last moments, Hessarian's heart softened, and he heard the voice of the Maker telling him to end her suffering. He plunged his sword into her heart, and as her blood washed over his hands, he became one of the faithful. Dissenters said that the Archon only converted because he could not stem the tide of Andraste's cult, and was forced to do so to stay in power. We will never know for sure.
Такие вот истории интересные нам рассказывают.
Yes.
Yes.
Indeed.
Ну, девочки, мальчики, пойдем пиздюлей получать. А нахер мы пришли в лагерь долийцев? Тут мы не получим пиздюлей, мы должны были вот сюда прийти.
You know, you never did tell me how you passed the time in that cage for so long.
No, I didn't.
So, what did you do in there?
A training exercise. I would observe an object, and then try to think of all the words in your language which began with the same letter as its name.
That? Wait, just wait. You're joking again, aren't you?
No.
You are not telling me that you played I Spy against yourself for 20 days?
There are a lot of things in Lothering that begin with G.
Вот, да, мы не туда выходили просто.
My home in Saharon. The fiends here are only monsters.
Давайте будем всегда идти направо. Что это? Вольг. Ох ты ж, ёперный бобстер. Надо в первую очередь вот этих херачить. Ебануться, лапти гнутся, жесть. Беги, беги, Морриган. Морган молодец, кстати, что может всякие что-то лечилки делать. Это прям очень полезно. Надо только будет склянок накупить потом еще. Малые эти личинки делаются... Личинки. Малые эти лечилки делаются достаточно просто. Нужен эльфийский корень и склянки. Ой, с ними можно побазарить. Ну, давайте побазарим. Здорово.
The watchwolves have spoken truly, my brothers and sisters. The Dalish sent a human of all things to repay us for our attack, to put us in our place. What bitter irony. You speak to Swift Runner. I lead my cursed brothers and sisters. Turn back now. Go back to the Dalish and tell them that you have failed. Tell them we will gladly watch them suffer the same curse we have suffered for too long. We will watch them pay. Was it not Sathrian who sent you? He wishes only our destruction, never to talk. We have never met, he and I. He would not survive the experience. I swear it. You know nothing, do you? Nothing of us, and even less of those you serve. You are a fool, and we are done talking. Run from the forest while you can. Run to the Dalish and tell them they are doomed. I do not wish to fight you either, but we cannot trust you. Come, brothers and sisters, let us retreat. The forest has eyes of its own, and it will deal with intruders as it always has.
А рассказать мне, что произошло, нет? Пиздуйте, пиздуйте. Мы еще встретимся.
Very well.
Who comes? We were sent to find Witherfang, bring his heart. Attacked.
And Darren Atishan, Grey Warden. Our scouts saw you approaching and tell me you carry the body of one of our hunters with you. Ah, Dagon. He is wounded, but I think he will live. Ma Siranas, your help is appreciated. Come, Lethaline, let us take Dagon to the Keeper, and quickly. If we are lucky, we may still save him.
So be it.
Твою мать, это что, блядь, там такое большое? У меня сейчас где-то приступ жопы случится. Упс.
What?
You will learn to fear me.
Вот он, добивание было. Yeah. Yeah.
I would like bandages.
Крутота. А-та-та, а-та-та. Это просто крутота. У Стэна теперь хорошая кольчуга. Что-то, видимо, мы должны знать, чего мы пока не знаем. Ё...
It will be done. Very well. Yes.
Так, тут выход, значит, в другую часть леса. Но мы пока эту не изучили. Где-то там кору можно собрать. Где это? Надо как-то до конца дойти. Ёп! Страшное говно.
Yes.
Давай подеремся. Вот такого я не помнила. Что тут деревья тоже нас будут опиздюлить. Есть еще северо-восточный лес. Ну, давайте уж тут все посмотрим. Знаете, кому мы можем это подарить? Рыженький такой, да.
What manner of beast be thee that comes before this elder tree? A were, thou sayest? How can this be? I sense no curse inside of thee. Could it be, instead, a lie? There is no need. Why even try? It is true thou seest it clear. There are beasts and thieves aplenty here. Allow me a moment to welcome thee. I am called the Grand Oak, sometimes the Elder Tree.
It rhymes? 'Tis a rhyming tree. One can only imagine what manner of spirit is involved here.
And unless thou thinkst it far too soon, might I ask of thee a boon? I can only speak to what a tree may see. It may not help you, but it is enough for me. That is but a human name, one placed upon this land their claim. A claim they stole from ancient elves, whom they first killed, and were killed themselves. It was the elves who planted the seeds, raised the forest, saw to its needs. But that was all so long ago. That they are dead is all I know. A great war, perhaps, I cannot tell. I was not here when it befell. But many deaths here, all the same. And with the deaths, the spirits came. The spirits entered corpse and tree, and most went mad, as thou canst see. The forest had a spirit of its own, from back when its first seeds were sown. Perhaps she died of grief that day, or perhaps she simply went away. Or perhaps the wares are the ones to blame, for the day she left is the day they came. Most of what was is overgrown, leaving only broken stone. Perhaps some ruins remain free of rot. I know not where, I see them not. In the center of the forest the wares do dwell, or so go the tales my fellows tell. But they cannot be followed there. The forest doth protect the wares. Perhaps wares use magic to command the trees. All I know is they move as they please. Perform the boon as I ask, and I shall reward thee for the task. I have but one desire, to solve a matter very dire. As I slept one early morn, a thief did come and steal an acorn. All I have is my being, my seed. Without it, I am alone indeed. I cannot go and seek it out, yet I shall die if left without. Go to the east to find this man. I shall await. Do what thou can.
Ну, слушай, дуб, ну это как-то не очень гостеприимненько, знаешь.
I shall try to be more careful in future. Yes.
How odd. A camp with no campers, complete with fire and warm blankets. Rather inviting, would you not say?
The elven hunters didn't set this up. How strange. And yet it all just seems so friendly. I want to do nothing but remain.
You wish to leave already? Why?
Ага! И только маг может что-то противопоставить вот этому.
So be it.
Молодец, Морган.
A hungry spirit luring those who pass to their rest and their doom. One might wonder how it learned this trick. No matter, it shall prey on no one else.
Yes.
Но лутик тут ничего, неплохой, конечно. Что это?
Wait. We are back at the beginning of the path. The forest, it seems, does not wish us to reach wherever the path leads. How protective.
Так, ну у нас лечилочек почти нет. Без лечилочек-то грустно. О, здорово.
Oh dear. Not a werewolf and not a spirit even. What are the woods coming to? Mayhap I did and mayhap I didn't. Have you come to claim it back? Oh, what fun. But we are getting ahead of ourselves already. Ask a question and you'll get a question, but give an answer and you'll receive the same. Oh, I do so love to trade. Wouldn't I have to ask you a question first? Would you know a question if it was asked? No, that is not a question. And if it be an answer, it'd be an answer to a question I've not asked. Have you no sense for the rules?
Be cautious. This is no ordinary madman. He has magic. I can sense it. Powerful magic.
No fair bringing mages to a guessing game. Will you play by the rules or not? I think it is your turn to ask, is it not? Suddenly it all becomes clear. You hear that talking tree there? It all makes sense now. As a matter of fact, yes. I do have that tree's acorn. I stole it, and it was easy. Silly tree should have locked it up tighter. If you want it, you'll have to trade me for it. And nothing from that silly tree. No leaves or branches or anything. But that's all I have to say about that. An answer for an answer. There you go. May I? Oh, yes, I think I might. Now, what shall be the first? Oh, yes. What is your name? Aha. So you claim. They sent you, didn't they? But you're too tricky, and you're trying to fool me. Well, I'm on to you, just so you know. But it is your turn to ask now. Ask. Ask away, I dare you. It's where the wolfmen have their lair, but the trees will block the path. There's a way to fool the trees, of course. Trees are thick, wooden things, after all, easily fooled if you know how. Oh my, no, that's quite a question. I think that answer deserves something a little extra first, don't you? I stole something from an oak tree some time ago, and it won't stop pestering me for it back. Would you be so good as to turn it into firewood or something equally dead? You know of it? Good, that makes this much easier. Yes, that's the one. I will indeed. After all, why not? It's up to you, however. Time to move on. I think it is your turn to ask, is it not? Who am I? Why do you want to know? Did they send you? Did they tell you to ask? Ah! Damnation! Caught by my own rules. Oh, did they tell you to pretend to be an innocent stranger with a head full of fluff and nothing? I'm trickier than I look. I survive still, and the trees, they leave me be. I've won. They will never find me. Never. So you did. But I'm watching you. If they sent you, I'll know. But that's all I have to say about that. An answer for an answer. There you go. May I? Oh, yes. Where were you born? So you say. Fiendishly clever of you to maintain this facade for so long, but I will see through it yet. Mark my words. But it is your turn to ask now. Ask. Ask away, I dare you. Yes, I live here, and it's not as bad as you think. Where else to go, eh? I must stay away from them. They're out there and looking. They will take your secrets, oh yes, all of them, and leave you empty. But that's all I have to say about that. An answer for an answer. There you go. May I? Let's see. Do you have a knowledge of the arcane arts? Oh, well, that's disappointing. But wait, what if you were lying? Ah, you thought to scamper away without suspicion, did you? Well, I'm onto you. But it is your turn to ask now. Ask. Let's see. I'll trade you an acorn, a helmet I found, or a book I finished reading years ago, provided you have something interesting in return. Oh, and what do you have to trade for the acorn? Oh, yes. Many things are buried deep here. Treasures. Hey? I once had a ring like that. This one's shiny still. Yes, I'll take it. Give me that. There. Now that's done. What else have you got on your agenda, May I? What is your relationship with your father? Interesting. Most interesting. So that means that you did indeed have a father. I knew I would trip you up sooner or later. But it is your turn to ask now. Ask. Oh, yes. Yes. I still have that old helmet and the book.
Шлем.
And what do you have to trade for the book? Elven history, you say? That might make for good reading by the moonlight. Or it'll be better than using leaves. Give me that. There. Now that's done. What else have you got on your agenda, Oh, I see. You're going to report to them now, are you? Fine. Goodbye.
Очень смешной дед, конечно. Да у нас, наверное, есть желудь. Да, отлично. А он нам дал книгу. Ну, хорошо. Хорошо же. Очень хорошо. Эх, Лилианы нет. Она бы взломала.
Of course.
Ну, раз уж мы нашли золоть, давайте его вернем.
My acorn is still gone, so I pray to thee. Hast thou any news for me? My joy soars to new heights indeed. I am reunited with my seed. As I promised, here it be. I hope its magic pleases thee. Keep this branch of mine with thee, and pass throughout the forest free. I wish thee well, my mortal friend. Thou brought my sadness to an end. May the sunlight find you, thy days be long, thy winters kind, and thy roots be strong. Greetings to thee once again. Thou hast not yet left the forest, then?
Да не, уже не брожу, что, все нормально. Теперь мы можем пройти где хотим. Но у меня почему-то до сих пор как будто там задание какое-то. Типа можно на него напасть, что ли, или что?
Greetings to thee. Greetings to thee once again.
Хотя задания такого нет в журнале.
Then?
Фу, странно, ладно. Ага, мы не можем сейчас пойти в лагерь. Нам бы надо. У нас ни лечилок, ни хера нет вообще. Давайте-ка.
Do you wish? Truly, let me see. Yes, that is indeed my substantial quantity as well. Well done. That is no question is what would you like? Oh, rest. I must admit, I'm surprised with such generosity from outside. You have my thanks, and the thanks of my clan this year. I'll not allow your generosity to go without at least some reward. Come, I shall make something of it. I perform with my will. It's a small token of my gratitude, but take it, my blessing. It's good to see you again. Have you need something? I know merchant.
Come to my hall and I can have you. I don't know. Do you have any skills as an helper? If you do, and what do you think? I'm glad you tempted the guard. Come to my hall and I can have you. I don't know. Do you? I'm glad you tempted. I know. It was time to future. Cool.
It's good to see you again. Have you? I know merchant. family. All you wanted to kill your sister, his son, Lord Var, and came close to kill his father before he ever reached the battlefield. Only the first to kill by Lord himself. That's what I'm learning now. Take the bodies. I'm sure you'll be pleased.
Ну что ж, мы немножечко купили, немножечко продали. В следующий раз будем дальше изучать лес. Поговорим еще с нашими ребятами, может, они нам что новое скажут. Будем разбираться в игре дальше. Ну, я буду вспоминать, а вы разбираться. А может, тоже вспоминать или подсказывать. В общем, всем спасибо, всем пока.